Hey guys, Akil here, host of the Trading Coach podcast. You may not know this, but when it comes to this podcast, I don't use any outside help. There's no producers, no editors, just me. Now, don't get me wrong, I love every bit of the process, but being a one-man band also comes with a massive time investment. That's why years ago I switched from my previous podcasting host to Spotify for podcasters to streamline this process. Here I can save time by doing everything from a single platform, whether it's audio, video, scheduling, editing, even recording ads like this. So if you're someone that's looking to start a podcast and want to streamline the process so it's simple and as time beneficial as possible, I recommend going with Spotify for podcasters. I personally use them and I can personally recommend them. Hey guys, Akil here. Welcome back to the Trading Coach podcast. I have an amazing episode in store for you guys today, but before we get into that, I want to remind you guys, if you want to support the Trading Coach podcast, the best thing you can do is leave me a rating and a review wherever you listen to this podcast at. And also make sure to share it with your friends. And when you do, tag me in it as well if it's on social media. I love seeing what you guys have to say about the show. And I love hearing about what your favorite episodes are. Now, speaking of favorite episodes, I have a feeling that this is going to be one of mine. If you are an aspiring trader, maybe a struggling trader, anyone at kind of like the newer part of their journey, I think it's going to be one of your favorites as well, because what I'm going to share with you today is one of our accountability sessions with an aspiring trader on the platform. And it's funny, this trader, I'm not going to spoil the whole thing for you. Obviously, I'll let you hear it, but it's funny that when this person first got introduced to trading, the first thing that went through his mind was like, man, no way my wife is going to let me or allow me to do this. And believe it or not, his wife was the main one that motivated him. And I see so much of that in my story as well, because I remember when I got into trading and I was, stubborn and trying to do it myself for a very long time. And I finally found a coach or a mentor, and I was like, okay, I want to do this. I'm really passionate about it. It costs a lot of money. She was my girlfriend at the time, but we were very serious. And I'm like, I should probably, get used to this marriage thing and start asking for permission. And I asked for permission and thought she was going to say no because I didn't have a lot of money and, it cost a bunch relative to the time to do it. And she said, yeah. And she's my biggest cheerleader throughout. And I wouldn't have got started without her. I wouldn't have made it through without her. So I loved hearing that. But there's so many other stuff we talk about in this episode as well, like the difference between logical and creative traders. And, is one, have a better chance at being successful than the other. We talk about dealing with anxiety around commitment and persistence, the need to fail 1,000 times just to figure out what order to put things in order to make it work, and even stuff like trading off Macs and PCs and the different struggles that come with that. It's just a very jam-packed episode, and I'm excited to share it with you. So I'm gonna go shut up now because I'm making it longer than it needs to be, but I hope you guys enjoy it as much as I did.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Good to meet you.
How you doing?
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah, it's slightly surreal actually talking to you after watching your videos all year.
If you're still here, my voice must not have got on your nerves too much yet. Yeah. So I appreciate you coming on.
It's actually, even my children recognise your voice now.
I feel sorry for them, man. But
yeah.
Cheers for coming on anyway. Just give us a brief intro into James.
Yeah, so I came across your videos earlier on in the year. I'm an artist. By trade, I'm actually sort of a plumber, builder, ceiling fixer. I think that's why I kind of connected you at the beginning, because I came across your video and you were talking about like your career before you got into FX on site. Some of the stories you were telling about some of the things that happened on site, I was like, yeah, been there, done that. Trodden on nails, put nails through pipes, all that kind of stuff. And so that was kind of a hook for me, because I wasn't really. I came across the FX stuff. Really, I was trying to figure out what to do. I had some stocks and shares, and I was kind of looking for stuff like that. And then I was starting to look at it, and it came up at the same time that I was being forced out of my studio. I'm an artist now. I've been doing paper marbling for 10 years, and I was forced out of the studio. And I knew that I was going to start experiencing a big drop off in my sales, because I was public facing. The way I was working was very much public facing, and the studio that I was using meant that now that I'm in basically what looks like a prison cell. It's a room in a museum, so there's no public access. So I've gone from
what museum is it?
Portsmouth City Museum, an art gallery. So it's a wonderful building, great location. So I'm very lucky to have it, but it's completely different to the studio I was in. Anyway, so to cut a long story short, I got into your videos, and then I started to go, actually, I could see how I could like start getting my head around this stuff, because I never thought it was a million miles from anything I'd thought of doing before. But after watching your videos, I was like, I hadn't quite dared to tell my wife, because I was expecting her to go, what? I mean, it's just so far removed from anything you've ever done. And kind of being in front of a computer screen is kind of counter to what I'll be doing anyway. But after watching your videos and getting into it, I started doing the 30-day challenge back in May. And then I had some health conditions that kind of upset the momentum that I was building. And then around October, when things started to settle down, I started to get back into it. And then your cyber event came up. So I watched that. And then I thought, there's no way my wife is going to let me part with the money for this. But actually, she was behind it, because she could see, and she'd watched some of your videos. She could see that you're authentic. And she understood while I felt a connection with you. She was like, I can totally see it. She's like, I could see you being in the pub with him. I can see you going out there. I can, it makes sense. So, and then she was watching your video, and she actually started watching some of Akil stuff, and I'd never heard of him at that point until I started sort of the cyber event. And so she actually motivated me, surprisingly. I didn't think it would go that way. So I was like, okay, wow. Took the bull by the horn, so I'm in at the deep end. No idea what I'm doing, so I'm putty in your hands.
Wow, amazing, man. So look, what made you think that you could? What made you think you could do it then? Because I'm interested, because you're a creative, right? And past experience tells me there's two types of people: a logical kind of, very process oriented, very kind of inside the box type thinkers, and then there's creative outside the box thinkers who are kind of away with the fairies, right? Almost like, well, we can do anything here. And I guess what I've learned over the years is I've actually seen both sides succeed, but I'm interested into know exactly what kind of made you think this is for me, like I could actually do this. Not I'm attracted to this, because everyone's attracted to the idea of it, but what made you think, oh, I could do that?
Well, I didn't at first, which is why I did the 30-day challenge. So I didn't want to commit to something that I wasn't going to be able to do. And my biggest fear actually is I've got because of the health conditions I've got quite a lot of anxiety around commitment and persistence, because I know that this requires persistence to be able to get it. It's all well and good looking at it and going, oh yeah, I could see me being able to do it. It's sort of like, you've got to put in the groundwork. And that's one of the things I appreciate about your honesty in all of the stuff that I watched. It was like, you weren't kidding people that this was going to be easy. It's like,
no,
you can do it. It's going to, I think you kind of described, you said it's simple, but it's hard work, because you need to put in the hours. And then I'm like, and I was like, so I think that was kind of the thing with me. It's sort of like, well, how would that actually work? It was sort of like, to be able to do paper marbling, which is what I specialize in, you've got to be willing to fail 1,000 times before you get it right. So, of course. So I know that I've got that side of me where I can keep going, even though it hasn't worked this time. It'll work next time. Right? It hasn't worked this time. It'll work next time. And each piece of art that I do is preparation for the next one. So I thought, okay, so if I can do that with something that's very technically difficult, it's not like other kinds of artwork in that way. Lots of elements have to come together, because you're painting on water. So I chose the most difficult medium,
I love marbling, by the way. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. And I'm still mesmerised and captivated by it, like I was when I very first came across it. My wife's Turkish. I was living in Turkey when I came across it 13 years ago, Turkish Hebrew. But prior to that, in my building work and stuff, I was like, well, why? How come it's turned out? Because I'm not naturally, and like the art that you were talking about, I'm not naturally an artist, like in the traditional sense, how you would think of an artist. And I was like, how come I'm good at this though, paper marbling? And then when I look back, the stuff I used to do with my dad, because I started working with my dad as a plumber. But before that, even I was building racing cars. So you have to strip the cars down and rebuild the engines. And you have to do it meticulously. You have to do it in order. They're structured. So that was when I was like, and like even then when you were saying, look, there's two types of the artist type and the kind of more in the box. It was like, well, actually, I seem to bridge both. You know, I can be creative. I've got artistic flair. You know, I've done things with paper marbling that no one else has done. That's kind of my niche is that I've taken it in a direction that other people don't do. So that's kind of my sort of unique selling point. And I teach it in a way other people don't teach it. But with the trading, so outfits, and I was like, well, I see how there's sort of like there's something about my character and my ability to get my head down and learn that thing. And I've seen that, I've heard that from you and the way that you, I think it was really like recently, it was something you and Akil were both said where you crossed over and you were really emphasizing don't get seduced by the money, like getting rich. This isn't a get rich quick scheme. You're going to have to work for it. So I think all of those elements kind of go, well, they tap into my own personal ethos. That's what I'm talking about with my son. You know, he's just turned 13 and he's watching YouTube and his head's getting turned all the time by all the shiny, you know, the guys on there with the flash cars and all that kind of stuff. And obviously I'm old enough and mature enough, you know, I've been all through that. And so I'm talking to him about this stuff and then I'm hearing you say it. And then I'm playing stuff where you're saying it. So I'm kind of like, I'm using you as well as like a role model for him in that kind of, you know, you can have all of this stuff, but don't think it's going to come easy. You know, Jason's got this, but he got there through hard work. And, you know, he finds that stuff interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So
amazing. Yeah. I mean, I use social media myself to act as that third person, influence to my kids because they don't want to listen to me. They don't want me to be their teacher. But if I can post on social something that I want to get across to them, and then their friends are watching it, right? And they're going, "Oh, your dad's got a point," you know, and they share it, and they're like, "Yeah, that's a really powerful thing that I've been able to use," and I do use that. I'll have a debate with my son, and I'll just stop I won't argue with him, but I'll then do a post about it as if I'm talking about someone else, and it goes out, and it's worked. It's been amazing. As an artist, you're also in a great position, for this, because you understand that you'll never quite be where you want to be either, right? So with art, it's like you'll never be. There'll always be someone better, right? It's a forever, and you'll look back at your work from 2 years ago, and you'll be like, "Oh, I'm much better than that now," and I can't imagine being better. But then you get better, and then you look back 2 years, and it's like, "Oh, that was terrible," and it just is. It's this process that keeps going on and on and on, and that's the same with trading. You never quite master it, but you never feel like you've mastered it, but you definitely get a lot better. So. Amazing. So where are you at in the journey right now? Like, I know you only signed up recently, but
so I'm on the I'm following the 90-day planner. I've hit a little bit of a hurdle because I've now realized that because I'm running on a MacBook because I do all my video editing stuff on there. So it looks like I'm going to have to get a PC because the software doesn't run on the Mac.
Okay. So, well, you can get. I mean, a lot of the trading platforms have got web versions now. You can also get parallels. So if you do have you can actually install a virtual version of Windows on your Mac now. So I would definitely consider looking at that before buying a separate PC.
I saw someone in one of the chats talking about that, but I sent an email to admin at Tier 1, and they replied and said that it didn't work with Mac.
I think what they're probably referring to is the Enigma software and everything,
Yeah.
and the VS1 has to be installed onto the download files themselves are exe files, which means that only works on a PC. However, you can install something called Parallels on your Mac, which will allow you to install a virtual version of Windows, and then you can download it to that and then open it on that. So,
I mean, if that's a reliable solution, I'll look into it then.
I don't know if it's a reliable solution, and I would say go and ask, because I've used Parallels over the years, and I've never been overjoyed with it, but I haven't used it for many years. I'm sure it's come a long way, so it'd be worth just asking the question in the community about that before you make a decision.
I guess I'm not at the. I mean, I've gone through all the goal setting, so I'm in it's the foundation part now. So I've done all the cornerstone. I'm in the foundation. I've done the goal setting with you, although I mean I haven't done it in detail, but I've gone through that section. Financial, relationships, social, health and well-being, and that was kind of there when it really brought up the anxieties in me, even going through that, because I'm like, my health can fluctuate wildly depending on what I've been up to. So this is kind of like for the accountability for me. I thought, am I even ready to do the accountability? And I thought, well, this is an opportunity to kind of express those worries, and then maybe use the accountability to sort of say out loud how important it is for me to actually plan a strategy to even do the training. Because I think once I've got through the training and the back testing, if I've understood what I've learned from you so far, is that you then don't need to be in front of the computer all of the time. Once you've mastered it, you don't need to. So then once I've mastered it, then I can take care of the other stuff. But what I need to do is pace myself through the training.
Yeah. Okay, great. Well, the 90-day plan is designed just so you can do that. And of course, it is just a guide, and it's going to be relative to how much time you've got available in your life as well. So it's not gospel, but it is there as a guide. So what's the bigger plan then? What's the bigger goal? Obviously, do you want to move more into art, or how are you using trading? Where do you see yourself?
I'm working on my YouTube channel at the moment. I've had to change how I work slightly. I'm going to be collaborating more. I'm collaborating with a bookbinder, for example. We're going to be doing some workshops and stuff together.
Right.
But with the trading overall, I mean, I'm hoping that I can get it to the point. I've been encouraged through watching your videos that I will be able to make enough money that I'm not necessarily replacing income, but less dependent on having to make money out of the artwork, so that it's not so I can start enjoying it more.
Exactly. Yeah. I did a whole talk on this to a bunch of entrepreneurs the other day who were, they're phenomenally successful. But my question to them is, what would your business look like if you didn't need the money? What would your products look like? What would your service look like? What creativity and care would you put into that? And it was a real, it was a light bulb moment for a lot of them. I think when you get to the position where you don't need the money and the pressure isn't there financially, you can really come alive.
This is a really good example. So this little wooden ornament, so I can sell these for £5, but the amount of time, effort and energy that goes in for me to be able to sell, so I need to be able to sell hundreds. But I end up with tendonitis trying to be able to produce these. So then people say, well, why don't you train someone to be able to do it? But then to train somebody to be able to do it, you're talking about making a handmade production line. It's like competing with stuff made in China. It ain't going to happen. I made these amazing silk scarves. I invested £4,000 of my own money into the silk. It took me 4 years to sell them. People come in and tell me, they love them. And it was like, but they're only going to buy one. They might buy themselves and one as a present. You know, it's the volume thing when you're an artist. It's volume. And then it's kind of antithetical to doing the art, because once you try and start turning it into a volume, you then got a product, and then you don't feel like an artist anymore. It kind of ends up, it messes with you. So
totally. Okay, cool. So you've kind of told us what your plans are. Is there something that could potentially get in your way? Like, what's your kryptonite that could mess you up?
I think it'll be me. My kryptonite is me.
In what way?
Not sticking to my own plans with pacing, overdoing it, like getting excited and going, get in front of the computer for 8 hours. And I've got a chronic pain condition. When I was dry, I was in a really bad car crash going to work, and that messed up how my neck and shoulders work. So if I'm moving a lot, I can sort of keep on top of it. But if I get in front of the computer for too long, it all locks up, and then it can take me like a week.
And then you're out of action.
And I'm out of action. So, and I was thinking about it the other day, because I was going through the goal setting. I was like, what's going to be important for me? Okay, it's going to be planning. I'm going to be doing the accountability. This is the kind of thing that comes up. And I was like, I really need to break everything down into almost like, if I'm going to be treating learning this like a full-time job, I'm going to probably have to break up the hours into 20-minute sections. So do 20 minutes, go for a walk for 10 minutes, stretch for 10 minutes, come back for 10. And if I can get into the rhythm of doing that, I can see how I can progress through the course. And but if I don't stick to that, I can also see how it will mess me up, and then I'll start doing the self-doubt talking. You're not really cut out for it anyway. That the negativity starts to come up. I know this because I've experienced it before. We're trying to learn the marbling, and the way I overcame it was by breaking the day down into. So I think if I'm disciplined in that way, I should be all right.
Well, at least you've recognised that, and you're aware of it. Self-awareness is obviously going to be very beneficial in this whole journey.
Definitely.
Lastly, then, as your accountability, and you're working through that planner, without going, too overboard, as you say, which is what you don't want to do. What's one thing or one position you'd like to get to by the end of this year? So, is there something is there a certain milestone on that planner, or somewhere you'd like to be fresh, ready for 24?
So with the goal setting, because it brought up so much kind of emotion and fear, I'm seeing I'm just sorting things out in my head. I'm on a call with the COVID clinic team. I've got, as well as the chronic pain from 20 years ago, I've ended up with long COVID as well. So that's what derailed me back in May. So I'm getting on top of that. It's messed up my digestion as well as other things. And so I've got a call with them, and they've also sorted out a call with a therapist that I've got in January. So I'm thinking what would be good. It seems to be all kind of coming together. So I'm thinking, if I can get my goal setting sorted out and work on that as I'm working through the foundation, price action, I'm on the candlesticks, price action, all of that stuff. By the new year, then I've got something to talk to them about as well. And I've got something to kind of work upon for the new year, so that I know why I'm doing this, basically. So I've now known why I'm doing this and how I'm going to tackle it.
Got it.
Because you can probably tell, even as I'm talking to you, I'm excited about it, but I also know that can be one of the things that derail. Just being excited about that hot burn thing, getting your head stuck into it, and then feeling exhausted, and then going, "Oh no, I'm rubbish. I can't do it." So that's kind of really the goal setting is the most important. And when you did the goal setting, you've done the financial, relationships, social, health and wellness, knowledge, mission, spirituality. I'm kind of actually looking at them around the other way. I need to get the kind of the spirituality, which is important to me. I've got a daily practice that I use to get me through. I chant. I've practiced Nichiren Buddhism, which is chanting based. So I chant in the morning and evening. I know what my mission is because it's all based around the children and the home, building up the knowledge, and then the health and wellness. So it's like, if I can get those things nailed, and the social and the relationship, then the financial will come. You know, I can see how that's a reality. But when I think about the financial side and I look at the numbers and I'm writing them down, I'm like, God, the amount of money that I need to be able to, be able to move out of our terraced house into a house. My daughter's, she's going to be, my son's a teenager, my daughter's going to be a teenager soon, and she's still in a little box bedroom with, and we have to wipe the windows and walls down because of the damp. It's like, so I start thinking about that. It was like, and then it becomes overwhelming. I start. But if I go with it around the other way, it was like, if I take care of my spiritual side, take care of my mission and my knowledge, health, wellness, social relationship, the financial, I can see how that will come as a result of looking after myself and my family. That will, the pieces will fit together.
Amazing. Oh man, I appreciate you, being really vulnerable and laying all your cards on the table here. That's very, very inspiring. I look forward to working with you and seeing where you progress with this. And it'd be cool to catch up again, maybe in February or something, just to kind of see where you're at and what you've done. And man, I appreciate you coming on. It's been great to speak to you.
Cheers.
Thanks very much, James.
Thanks, Jason. Brilliant.
Cheers, man. Awesome. Well, that was very refreshing. So I look forward to following James. Next up, we've got Steve, who's not a stranger. And when James said about this is not a get-rich-quick scheme, Stephen knows about that because he's been on this journey a couple of times, and now he's in directionally correct. So, Stephen, how you doing?
Awesome interview. And again, the thing I love best about these accountability sessions is it allows us to know the trader on a different level. So they're no longer just traders, they are people. And as coaches, it's motivating for me to hear these stories, and it makes me just want to give my all into helping them. Not that I wouldn't do that anyway, but when you know about a person, when you know about their situation, when you know how hard they are fighting to find success, it feels like a disappointment if you don't go all out to help them find it as well. So as coaches, we love hearing about it. This is why we got into the business. Jason mentioned it in the podcast, right? We want to run our business as if we didn't need to make money off of it. And when you do that, we don't have to do kind of the other stuff that some other companies are doing. We can do the stuff that is purposeful and meaningful to us. And these interviews and helping traders in general is just one of those things. So hope you guys enjoyed. Until next time, plan your trade, trade your plan. Take care.